Hey class, Prof JC here. Welcome to week 7, and this is our final week to have some kind of video because next week you'll be working on your week 8 projects. So this is it for our videos, but I am going to enjoy these next 2 videos, and I think you're going to learn something from them because they talk all about this, this idea, and this is what's so important for us as leaders. How do we inspire people and how do we build trust? Right? This is what leadership's about, right? If you can't inspire a group of people and if you can't build trust with a group of people, you might get a position over time, but you're not going to be that long-term leader that's able to stick around and really build and develop people. But I want that for you. And that's why you're in this course. That's why you're in this class. That's why you're taking this, because that's the kind of person you want to be. And my guess is a lot of you are close to being there, but maybe you're not all the way there. So I hope that these next 2 chapters, that this week the videos will really add a lot of value to your leadership journey. So here's what we're going to talk about in this video. It's called What People Need to Know, See, and Feel in Order to Follow You. What people need to know, see, and feel in order to follow you. And that's the important thing. When you're leading, when you're communicating, people need to know something about you. People need to see some certain things about you, and people need to feel things about you. You need to invoke some feelings in them, right? They need to feel these certain ways about you if they're going to really follow you, especially long term. So let's dive in and talk about it. Let's first talk about what do people need to know, right? And when you get all this down, see, like what they know, what they see, what they feel about you, that's when you can become an inspirational leader, right? But all of this takes time. It's rare that an inspirational leader just grows up overnight, over 6 weeks or 6 months, whatever. Usually it takes a lot of time, and I'll say this, it takes a lot of time in one location, in one community, one organization, right? You got to give time. We live in a world where people are bouncing around job to job to job to job. I don't recommend that. Unless you're in a toxic environment, unless you know exactly where you want to get to. You say, I want to work for this company one day and I've got to do some things with these 5 companies in order to get there. Okay, that makes sense. But I would recommend get somewhere and stay long term. Every great leader that I know who's done a great job and who really has built up a sense of leadership and a sense of trust, they have developed that over the long term. There's something we like, right, about long-term people. The Grammy Awards were just on, here just a couple weeks ago. The people that get the greatest cheers, and you can feel it, right, in their, when their name is introduced, and you can feel it in the crowd at how people applaud, right? It's the people who've been around a long time. It's the people who have earned the respect. They have stuck it out. They've done the job, okay? So that's really important, right? But let's talk about what people need to know, what people need to see, and what they need to feel. So number 1, what people need to know. People need to know that you understand them, and I've said this already. John Maxwell, thanks for bringing this up, that you are focused on them. I don't need to spend more time on that. People need to know that. Are you focused on them or are you about yourself? And I will tell you this, and I've reached the point in my own leadership now where I study this so much, and again, I think I've shared with you, before, I've gotten my own forms of therapy because I want to make sure I root out any insecurity that's inside me, because anytime we're insecure, we use other people to fill up that hole, that insecurity inside of us, and that's not what leaders need to do, right? You need to be able to lead forward, you need to be able to move forward and not worry about what people think about you, because you know what? It's not about you, it's all about them. You've got to understand that, right? And people will be able to sense that out of you. People can sense that real quick, right? You've had the speakers that you've listened to before, and you start listening to him or her, and you're like, wow, man, it's all about them. They just talk about themselves the whole time, or they're really, really nervous. Being nervous, I've always felt it comes from a lack of preparation. I know for myself at this stage in the game, if I'm nervous, it's because I'm not prepared. And if I'm nervous, I'm beating myself up over. It's not about the opportunity. It's not about the people in front of me. It's about the fact that I'm not prepared, right? And because I'm nervous, now I'm focused on myself. Oh, well, people, will they like my story? Will they like my outfit? Will they like my shoes? Will they like my, I'm focused on all the wrong things. People don't care about any of that. They care about themselves, and they know if you care about them as well. So number 2, people need to know that you have high expectations of them. That is huge. That's huge. Okay. It's really, I want to read this story here that John Maxwell mentions here in his book. President Abraham Lincoln, an incredible communicator, was known during the Civil War to attend a church not far from the White House on Wednesday nights. The preacher, Dr. Gurley, allowed, and that's Gurley, the preacher, Dr. Gurley, allowed the president to sit in the pastor's study with the door open to the chancel so he could listen to the sermon without having to interact with the crowd. One Wednesday evening, as Lincoln and a companion walked back to the White House after the sermon, the president's companion asked, "Well, what did you think of tonight's sermon?" "Well," Lincoln responded, "it was brilliantly conceived, biblical, relevant, and well presented." "So was it a great sermon?" the companion asked. "No," Lincoln replied, "it failed. It failed because Dr. Gurley did not ask us to do something great." And then John Maxwell says here, inspiring communicators always expect a lot from their listeners. And I would say the same thing about leadership. If you're in a position of leadership, you've got to expect great things out of your people. And it's not about you, okay? It's because you see what they're capable of. If you've done the job of hiring a great team, and I hope you have, right? That's a whole nother class that you've probably taken or you will take in your program, is understanding what it means to hire great people. As long as you've hired great people, right, you need to help them reach their full and highest potential. That means you need to set high expectations of them. Leaders are not here to be friends with people. We're not here so people will like us. Our job is to set high expectations of other people around us. You know, I know some of you were frustrated with me a little bit in the last, in recent weeks because of the grades that you received on your week 4 assignment. I got to be honest with you. I care about you, but I don't care about your feelings around that because I need to set high expectations for you. I want to make sure that you walk out of this and that you know how to write really well. And you know how to put together something, a presentation extremely well. And you're almost there. And I'm really excited about what you're getting ready to turn in because I know it's going to be absolutely amazing. Right? And some of you might give me some lower marks for that and all that, and that's okay. But the point is, did you walk away and learn how to be a better writer, be a person who puts on a better presentation? That's the most important thing. And leaders, you're going to have to do the same thing for your people. If you're making it about you, if you're trying to be friends with the people you lead, all of that, again, comes out of this deep insecurity, and that can't be there. It's not about you. That means you have to set high expectations because you see greatness in your people, right? And that's how I typically grade myself, right? And when I know what the class is capable of, and if they're down here, I'm going to make sure that they get up here. That's the most important thing. You got to do the same as a leader, okay? So that's the only 2 things on that, right? People need to know that you understand them, that you're focused on them. People need to know that you have high expectations of them. That's what they need to know. Now let's talk about what people need to see, okay? What people need to see. People need to see your conviction. Right? Do you really believe what you say? Or are you making it up? This next one is so important. People need to see your credibility. Okay? And here's what John Maxwell says. When people trust you, they will listen to you. And they will be open to being inspired by you. If you're a one-time speaker, people will give you the benefit of the doubt. He's talking about speaking here, or you're kind of a leader that kind of comes in or comes out, as long as your credentials are good. But if you're speaking to the same people time and time again, you have to work to maintain credibility. Okay, so in an office environment, right, it's kind of easy to, you know, I kind of get the best of both worlds. Here at Point Loma, it's going to be a long-term role. Right, then I intend to be here for the next 40 years. So it's going to be a long, and maybe even more. I want to die doing my work here. I love this university. I love the students here at Point Loma. I love the faculty, the staff. It's a great place to be. But my credibility here is going to have to take a long, long time, and I'm going to have to maintain it, right? Now, in my other kind of my moonlighting, my kind of part-time work I do with consulting and traveling and speaking, all that kind of stuff, as long as I have good credentials, which, you know, they're not too bad, then I get to walk in and I get to have a good speech and I walk out, right? But when you're in a long-term location, which I recommend for all of you to be, is to make sure that you have to maintain that. And that means that you're building good relationships. You're all the stuff that we've been talking about here, right? Building connections with people and learning how to connect. Okay, so number 3 of what people need to see. People need to see, now this is important. I want you to listen up to me, okay? I want you to listen to this because it's so important. People need to see evidence of your character. Okay. In the end, John Maxwell says people want to be able to trust the character of the person who is communicating to them. A trustworthy person's character does not stop when the words do. Rather, it continues in the conduct of his or her daily life. Perhaps that's why it's said that the mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the great teacher demonstrates. Ultimately, each of us should strive to be the message. He gives example of people like your Mohandas Gandhi, right? Martin Luther King Jr., right? All the greats that you and I know, right? Uh, and those two examples I just mentioned, they actually died for their message. That's how much they appreciated their message. That's how much they lived by their own convictions. So much so that they both had to die for it. I think of Jesus. We've talked about him in other videos as well. That's kind of what our faith is built upon here at Point Loma Nazarene University. And this was a person who also died because of how they saw the world and the conviction of their message. People need to see that in you. And I will tell you this: the older I become, the more this becomes very important to me. If I see just a whiff, okay, and probably you're the same way. So let me just say if we see a whiff in a leader that they're not what they say that they are, or that they put on something in front of people but they're different behind the scene, it's really a turnoff, and it's somebody that we can't trust. Okay, so this is really important. It's really important. People need to see the evidence of your character, and that means that your words and actions have got to line up. Okay, now you're going to make mistakes, you're going to fail, and that's a whole nother conversation. That's when you have to apologize. You got to make it right. But by and large, over the course of time, people need to see consistently that your words and your actions match up. Now, finally, I want to talk about this: what people need to feel from you. What do people need to feel? Number one, people need to feel your passion for the subject and for them. Again, it goes back to them. It's not just your passion for the subject, it's your passion for them as well. I want you to think about some of the greatest teachers you've ever had. Okay, go back to high school. Maybe some of you went to community college. You've been to other colleges. Maybe here at Point Loma. Maybe it's a coach that you had or something. When you think about that person, and I'm thinking right now, I'm getting a little distracted because I'm thinking about Coach Phil Hodson. And I won't speak too much about this because I'll start to well up a tear. Like, this gentleman meant so much to me. And his son was also a great coach as well. But Coach Phil Hodson was a very tough coach. I was a junior in high school, and I wasn't good at sports at all. I felt more. I'm a professor, right? So that's what my life took that turn. I wasn't too much of a sports person, but for whatever reason, he took a liking to me, and he kind of took me under his wing and really helped me out. He helped to build confidence. I didn't have a lot of confidence at that time. And I knew that from him. He was very passionate about the subject, which is basketball. I could see him, and the guy was in his 60s, and he'd come in and he'd coach us middle schoolers, and he was so passionate about what he did. And he was such a great coach. And he would demand greatness out of us, but he also cared about every single one of us. He really cared about every single one of us. And he's a person that I will never, ever forget. He's made that impact. All of you have somebody else like that in your life as well. Somebody who's made a deep impact on you, somebody who's done very well for you. And that's the kind of leader that we need to strive to be, right? That we're and find a subject that you can be passionate about, right? But then don't just make it about the subject. Don't make it about yourself. Make it about the people that you get a chance to lead, okay? People need to feel your confidence in yourself and in them. That's really important for a leader. I'm going to say that one more time. People need to feel your confidence in yourself and in them. Okay? When I want you to think about those of you on this video podcast that had great parents. Okay? Not all of us did. Okay? So if you didn't, again, go back to a great leader that you can think of. But I want you to think about how great that feels when you have somebody who is confident in themselves and then they're confident in you. That moment, whatever that is, that they look at you and they say, man, woman, whatever it is, right? They say, I believe in what you bring to the table. And they do that because they have so much confidence in themselves. They're able to give a little bit to you as well. That's leadership right there. And that's what our people need from us, right? If we want to inspire people, they need to feel the confidence that we have in ourselves. So whatever job you have to do, whatever work you have to do to build up your own confidence, do it. I found in my own life taking care of my mental health and make sure I'm journaling, consistently. Again, this is for me. It's going to be different for all kinds of people. I was somewhere one time and I was given this example about the things I like to do: exercise and try to eat as well as I can. I don't always eat well, but try to eat as well as I can. Drink water, and go to the gym, do all that kind of stuff. I like to kayak, be outside, be in the sun, and I was mentioning and journal, right? Therapy, all that kind of stuff I like to do. And I was sharing this with a crowd, and one lady raised her hand in the back. She said, "I don't like to do any of that. I just like to go to Vegas." and I thought, you know what, that works for her. If that builds up her self-esteem, it builds up her mental health, it builds up her confidence, good for her. You got to figure out what's best for you. But this is really important, making sure that we have confidence and making sure that people feel that sense of confidence, right, that we have in them. So again, people need to feel your passion, they need to feel your confidence, and finally is this, people need to feel your gratitude for them. You cannot say thank you enough to the people that you lead. It blows my mind when people get in front of people, or people have a meeting, or people bring together people towards a cause and they don't say thank you. That to me is one of the it's one of the most simple things you can do, and it will help to inspire the people around you, right? It will help them understand that you're in their corner by just saying thank you. And a lot of leaders fail to do that. So I would say this, that the next time that you're with a group of people, the next time a group of people have come around because of your leadership, whether that's a meeting or whatever that might be, I want to encourage you to say thank you, okay? So now I've just mentioned several different ways, right? Several different ways to inspire people, what people need to know, right? What people need to see and what people need to feel from you, right? They need to know things about you. They need to see things about you, and they need to feel things from you, feel things about you, feel things from you, right? Okay, so which one out of everything I just mentioned, just name one. Which one is the most important? And, okay, so which one is the most important in connecting? And what is one example of something that you can do to help grow in that area? So whatever thing that you just said, right? Maybe it's building confidence. Maybe it's building passion. Maybe it's, maybe you got to figure out what your passion is. Maybe it's, your conviction. Maybe it's your credibility. Maybe you need to build that up. Maybe it's your character, whatever it is. So I want you to go back and you figure out which one is the most important in inspiring people, and tell me what you are going to do to grow stronger in that area. I'll see you in the next video.